I
What's
I
up,
don't feel
Zero?
like defending Smash right now, but I do categorize Smash as a fighting game, and I do think it is a good example of how to implement a proper story mode into a fighting game.
Oh, yeah, but that Subspace Emissary was not like good though, right? It wasn't a well-told story. You know what I'm saying? It was just like events. That's you know what I mean? Like when you tell me good story mode, I'm thinking of a actual well fleshed out told story, right? With the characters involved in the game.
Well, if
I
I was going from
personally think
that, go ahead.
I personally think that the game mechanics and the way it's built take it don't allow for something like that to happen. You would have to
No,
take the characters out and put them in a different type of game.
no. See, that's why I took the Smash example. If I was talking story and writing, some people would debate me on this. I would bring up BlazBlue as an example then. But no, you were talking gameplay. That's why I brought in Smash. The Subspace Embassy was basically taking the mechanics that Smash had and expanding on them until you get a competent single player mode, which I personally know can be done with even the generic 2D fighting games from modded games and Mugen. You can take what you those two people on screen with their few meters and all that and do a lot of stuff with it. But fighting game developers don't take the time to do that because they don't focus on the single player.
Yeah, we focus more on creating system, you know, nowadays balancing
So, so
once again nowadays focus on multiplayer, especially online multiplayer.
And I can respect that. But like I said, I judge fighting games as I judge other games. They do not get any special treatment from me. So I will always consciously notice that when it comes to any fighting game.
hmm.
And they
I,
lose points because
I
they
don't
are
know.
a
I
video
think
game.
judging a fighting game, I'd say the important part of judging a fighting game would be its actual fighting engine, not a story mode. I
Well,
wouldn't knock. There like to take. I don't know to take away a real. If they made a fantastic fighter, like one of the best ones, to people to knock it down to 7 when it deserved a 9 for its fighting engine, which actually matters in the long run, I think that's stupid.
no, no.
Personally,
See,
Well,
here's the point of the intent of the review. Who are you doing the review for? Are you doing it for everyone? Are you doing it specifically for the fighting game community? Who are you doing it for? Because like, I would give. Let's say I took the time and I'm not just going by what I've heard my friends say about Street Fighter V. If I was just talking to the fighting game community in this review, I would probably give it a high score. But if I
mhm,
was talking to everyone, I would not give it a high score.
same here.
It's the idea,
I,
it's the intent of the review that depends on the score and that affects the score. A lot of reviewers don't take that time and they just kind of, I guess, do whatever they do and then post a final number, just one singular final number, and call it a day. But if you take the time for intent, you need to have two scores, or else sometimes more than that.
What? Who scores for what?
Let me
Like
for
two
shrink.
fighting.
different reviews?
Let me shrink down what I said into a simple sentence. You sometimes you need to split the score between the hardcore players and the non-hardcore players.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying.
I
No, I
really
was
don't think you need to do that even. Like that's supposed to be the intent of the actual written part of the review. Like the score should be the bottom line. Scoring this game over like you would any other fighting game. Because if you're gonna review Street Fighter as a fighting game, then shouldn't you be doing that for every game? Like you shouldn't review Counter Strike as a game. You should review it as a first person shooter. That's gonna be never ending.
Hmm.
Yeah, street like that's the thing. When it comes to fighting games, really don't want to go first. They always score low because yeah, they're not same par as any other typical video game, Tomb Raider, Uncharted, or
I
even
disagree
even
with
even when
that.
you even when you have the cinematic, story in Combat and Street Fighter Five, Fighter Four kind of had it there. It's not important. Fighting game players don't really care about that. People who play, people who go to tournaments at any level, they don't really care about stuff. And most people who tend to play single player games suck at fighting games in general. That's why Street Fighter Five didn't do that well, because it was rushed out, for the CPT, and because of that, there was pretty much no single player content in it outside of survival.
Oh, that was funny. My first thought when you said CPT did not go to Capcom Pro Tour.
Oh boy. What lewd thing did you think about?
No, I was like, colored people time? It was rushed out for colored people time? But I see where you're coming from. But I guess it still goes back to what my thought about it is intent. Who am I making the review for?
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just kind of expanding on it.
Oh, okay.
You can't.
Yeah, the hardcore fighting game people would not care about the single player mode, and a lot. No offense, but the fighting game community wouldn't care about a lot of things that go into a fighting game. They just care mechanics and characters and stuff like that. No offense. Because I had this argument when I was talking to my friend about Yatagras, and he was disappointed that Yatagras didn't sell well, and I brought up the fact it's not. I'm gonna say this and you're gonna hate me, but let me elaborate. The visual fidelity of the game, not from its sprite work, which was gorgeous, but from the UI, the character select, which looked like a free-to-play Flash game I could find on the internet. And I brought this up to him. You could see it in the Steam pictures, and I was like, that doesn't look appealing to most people. Where was the work in that?
Yeah.
When you choose the announcers, it's just pixelated pictures of their face overlapping the characters. And he tried to defend this because that's not important. And I was like, yeah, it is.
To most people, it is, but you say to the core fans of it, maybe not.
If I'm doing these reviews on these type of games, I'm trying to talk to everyone and get as much information. I would go in depth about the mechanics for the people who care about the mechanics, but I'm also gonna go and look at the overall picture for the people who care about the overall picture.
Yeah.
I don't see enough reviewers who do that though.
Honestly, I think if there was ever a fighting game that had a really high score, probably doesn't have a whole lot of people playing it, especially not playing it on any tournament situation, because it's something that appeals to the mass public in a fighting game. Probably not going to be on King of Fighters, Street Fighter, Combat, anything like that. It's probably not going to be a game.
Well, again, unpopular opinion. I've always had a problem with the fighting games that do get top billing, streamed on all things, got their tournaments fully shown, and everyone's watching. I always had a problem with that, especially after my Bay Skullgirls basically got shafted. Didn't even get into Evo.
The reason why Street Fighter is so popular, not just because they had an early start. I mean, that's still very huge, right? The fact that Street Fighter is just a straight up OG, but more than that, Street Fighter's never had the success in like showing until now, until like Street Fighter. It kind of started a Third Strike, but Street Fighter 4 is really when the FGC just blew up. It's because Capcom puts into it. That's why. Nobody like who else has anything par with Capcom Pro Tour? Like, who else puts all this money into it? You got all these sponsored players traveling to compete in it.
I thought the Capcom sponsorships only started with the Capcom Pro Tour.
You got different tournaments, but you certain like there are tournaments that like huge. Just that's because that's where everybody flock to, and that's largely most of them are in California. But you had different sponsors buying into it, uh, into players and stuff. Uh, but as far as the Capcom Pro Tour, yeah, they pick the biggest tournaments, and they're like, okay, this is a premier tournament, or maybe this isn't a premier tournament, but it's still big enough for us to score you based on this or something like that. I think the only other game that has that kind of support from the actual publisher slash developer is Tekken. Tekken has a bit of support, not anywhere near the amount that Capcom supports Street Fighter players, um, but it's there.
I forgot how we got onto this tangent.
But
Fighting games need to have story.
but
No, no,
it,
no, no, no. I
yeah.
remember that. But how do you get onto this tangent about the
Oh, you
We
said
were
you,
I brought up
kind of get
Yatagras and his
annoyed
visual
with
fidelity.
seeing
Where did we
all
go
of
from?
these, these particular games getting top billing.
Oh yeah,
These
yeah,
particular fighting games.
yeah. Okay. I remember.
You say
I understand
they
why
have
Street Fighter
developer
gets its top
publisher
billing.
support.
Yeah, I understand that. But I don't know. I guess I feel that it harms the genre as a whole when only a select few games get that. Well, how would you say that level of visibility?
So
While other games or other companies that try to break into the scene kind of get shooed over to the wayside outside of Japan, because Japan is the home of fighting games and they're fine
yeah,
there.
but like okay, let's say like if you want like if if you want Guilty Gear, or I should say, if Arc Systems wants Guilty Gear to have that same level of attention, then they need to buy into the FGC. That's essentially what they need to do. That's why Capcom has it. That's why they have such a tight hold on. And the same thing for any other game.
But not
If
every
you
game
want
can
King of
do
Fight,
that.
yeah, probably. I
And
mean,
should it be fair that basically destines that game to a realm of obscurity? I bring back up the Yada example. Hell, Yada, the fighting game community wanted Yada, and people did say if you don't support Yada, it'll disappear and we'll never get another one.
yeah,
And that's exactly what
yeah,
happened.
yeah. I mean, and that's the other, and see, and this is why you need to have a company buy into the FGC if they really want their game to be that big. Because are you going to spend the amount of time that it takes to talk about this game that you enjoy so that you get more people into it? Or are you going to be busy playing the actual game and enjoying it?
I think for fighting games, you would have to do both.
But if you don't
Because you
have a
have to.
company that's buying into it and making sure that buying those slots on Twitch and Hitbox and stuff, if, buying commercial time or any other form of advertisement, maybe even getting YouTubers playing it and people streaming it on Twitch. If you don't have a company doing that, then you're kind of relying on the players to do that. And the reason why you need a company to do it, or more accurately, why a company needs to hire a PR company to, is because it takes a lot of time.
No,
In fact, I
hold up,
think
hold
you
up.
find that
This
you're doing it more, you'll be doing more PR work than actually playing the game.
Hold on. This rolls back into having a game with a proper set of features and a just full feature length game. Because not every game needs to have a huge PR company backing in, giving people literal money to ensure that they say good things about the game or ensure that they even look at the game at all. A lot of games just, they release, and if they're good, it circulates. People start talking about it. People start loving it. But that factor doesn't seem to happen that often for fighting games. Why is it that fighting games have to throw money at people to get them to play the game versus people just playing it?
Okay, because say I'm a fighting game, I'm a big fan of fighting games, and I'm already playing this fighting game that I love playing. Let's say Soul Calibur. Love playing Soul Calibur, and that's what I like playing. And then you have a game that is right up my alley, and I'm pretty sure I would enjoy it, but I haven't heard about it yet. And also, even if I did just kind of hear it in passing, what's going to motivate me to stop playing my favorite game to play this new fighting game?
I would have to ask the question, what motivates anyone? Because I'm looking at this from the eyes of just seeing just about every other genre. People just pick things up and people look at them, people enjoy them. Millions of people see a couple of thousand people picking it up, then those millions of people pick it up, and just you see this circulation of players. And I see the fighting game community just kind of playing the same games, and yes, they're getting their audience. They're getting that particular game or that select few games. They're getting its circulation, but I see all other games just kind of fall away, and that disappoints me. It's not that certain games are succeeding. It's that other games are failing because they require the system where you had to put in money to get success, and you need to put in continuous money to get success.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. I mean, it's just a simple fact that in the FGC, there's a hell of a lot more brand loyalty than you would typically see in any other genre.
And that disappoints me and irritates me to no end.
That's the FGC for you.
God damn it. I don't know.
Like, I guess the lesson, if you want to make a fighting game, you better be doing a fighting game because you really want to do a fighting game.
Do it for the love of it, because you might not make all your money back.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
You can say whatever you want, but it ain't going nowhere.
I mean, that real talk right now. While I haven't done it yet, that was one of the things I wanted to do if I ever made a YouTube channel. I was thinking about it a while ago. I wanted to support games that I like that didn't get the support that they needed from other sources.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always occurred to me that why don't other people do that? Because games like Yada, games like Skullgirls, they had people saying, yeah, this is a great game. I love it. I hope it succeeds. But they don't put no time in it. They don't put nothing in it. I don't know if you like him, because I know plenty of people who don't. Maximilian dude, do you know him?
Yeah.
Do you like him?
Yeah.
Okay. He's an example, because he looked at Skullgirls and like, yeah, this is mechanically good. This is pretty decent. I'm gonna do about 4 episodes on my Yogi Video Games second channel and call it a day. What?
I guess because he was kind of
the fighting games are popular, the ones that bring in the views, my nigga.
But the idea is
it's how YouTube works, right? It's how like every YouTuber became a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, and now every YouTuber was a fan of Undertale, and then now every YouTuber is now a fan of fucking my neighbor or some shit, right? Or how Yandere Simulator got popular, right?
Hold on. First of all, Maximilian only sometimes works like that. Like, he's flat out said he just does what the hell he wants to, because he even uses some copyright material in his videos, and he gets them, monetized in a way that he doesn't make no money, and he's like, but that's how I wanted the video done, so whatever, I make him enough money anyway. So he does what he wants. But I actually use Maximilian as an example that I wish a lot of other fighting game players would do, because some fighting game players do have YouTube channels. but then they dedicate them 110% to a single game, while Maximilian takes the time to spread out. And I do say that understanding that Maximilian is not a professional player.
Not
He's
anymore.
just a content creator. But
So what you're telling me is that
throwing
excellent-
like
There should be
taking
excellent adventure episodes of other fighting games.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought, why not?
I mean, have your professional game. Have that game that you make six videos a week on that you practicing up for the terms. But take a Sunday. Take a Sunday to play a smaller
Yeah.
game that needs a little help, needs a little visibility, so we don't end up in the Yatagras pool of darkness. Dude, I had a buddy who bought Yatagras, and he refunded it. He was like,
yeah,
well,
like-
the
like-
online's only okay. I have to use Hamachi, and it's
I mean, like there's a
FPS.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game, and there's like 2 people playing that game at any given moment.
The 2D one or the 3D one? Because the 3D one's popular.
2D one.
Yeah.
I want to play the 3D one, but I don't have a PS4, PS3, or whatever, whatever it's on. But yeah, and one thing I wanted to bring up earlier, but I forgot, is the death spiral of video games in general. It's the idea that when you have a game, right, and it has thousands of players, you have a good selection for people to go in and get their matchmaking. This is for multiplayer games, death spiral multiplayer games. My bad. You have a good selection, but as time goes by and the player base dwindles, you have less and less players. The matchmaking gets harder and harder. People who come into the game new get matched up against higher tier opponents, which makes them lose interest in the game and they leave. And it's effectively just a death spiral. Once you hit that point, you'll just continuously lose players over and over again.
Yeah.
And that effect, since fighting games are so dependent on their multiplayer, it hits them harder than just about any other genre on the market. Maybe not just a good story mode, but just single player options. Plenty of things to do when you're by yourself, when you're just trying to practice and learn.
Yeah, and I really think there should be much better information on how to play the game. Not just this is how you move.
Forward,
these
back,
3
press
buttons
this to
for
do this.
punch,
Well, that's what I like. That's what I liked about
Yeah.
Skullgirls' tutorial. Skullgirls' tutorial was amazing. Like they basically
Yeah.
taught you everything you had to know.
Hold up.
Right?
No.
Revelry has the best tutorial.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Now that goes back to where I was talking about how Smash used the existing mechanics and expanded upon that to create a good single player product. Xrd does the same thing with its tutorial. It takes what you have on the screen and does more with it to teach you how to play the game.
Like Xr's tutorial.
That's the
a
gold
game in and
standard.
of itself.
Yeah, that would be the gold standard to me. Skullgirls
Like
silver
Street Fighter,
standard.
yeah, when you first tells you like
Turn
the
Street Fighter
absolute
into a
most
temporary
basic-
Street of Rage.
that would work.
Yeah.
That could work. Right? Because like all it tells you is like this is how you move, this is how you block, this is how you jump, this is how you hit a button. Like you don't know how to do that. Like people understand those basics. I mean maybe like people who never played a fighting game, they don't know back to block,
Oh, you
or
know what
something
would
like
work?
that. But like it never teaches you how any other special move. Like holy shit, this isn't a Street Fighter 1, 2, right? Those special moves done because it was a secret thing. This was something that you only seen the NPCs do against them, and nobody knew how to do them. Those few people that figured out how to do them, yeah, they would do them. Those are the special moves. Those are the secrets. And ever since we got a Street Fighter in a game console, which also had the manual, which had special moves in the manual, well, no secret anymore. Now it's such a pivotal thing in the game. You need to know how to do those special moves to really play the game. And it doesn't teach you that stuff. And it doesn't teach you any of the meta of the game that pushes you You gotta either learn, pay somebody to teach you, or have somebody who's actually nice enough to teach you for free.
That's what.
Niggas
Here's
gotta
something
make
I
that
always
money.
like. Here's what I always confused about. Like, you know the hitbox mod for Street Fighter Five. You know that you can get. Like, you see how fast that was made, and I always confused as to why Capcom doesn't make something like the hitbox mod or make a system in training where you can see what your plus and minus negative on and shit like that.
Because they
I
don't
never
have to.
understood that.
Hold up. They don't have to. Because the core fighting community will buy the game anyway. That's one of my problems with the whole fucking group.
But
You
but
don't
Mortal
need all
Kombat
the stuff that we talked about in the last 5 minutes. Stuff that feels so important. You don't need to get your game sold
but
unless you're small.
With Street Fighter, it's the only game that doesn't have that stuff. Tekken has frame data, Mortal Kombat has frame data, Injustice has frame data, Dead or Alive has frame data. Skullgirls, we already know that has everything.
Everything.
Data hitbox, everything. Like the stuff that you see is what the developer sees when they're testing the game. And they just put it in there because why not? Like this is in every fighting game except for Street Fighter. Maybe probably not versus Capcom, but it's like in 2. So yeah, like I really wish it had. All it has is attack data, like how much damage different moves does. But they did not get into how fast to start up, active frames there are, recovery frames there are, what's the knockdown advantage, and they damn sure doesn't want to put the hitboxes in there. But I think my best guess for that is this tradition of having secrets in the game, and the hitboxes and frame data basically secrets. But it's just, why do you need to have that? We have the internet. Get this stuff very easily. Why do we have to quit the game and go somewhere else to find this information that is pretty damn important to the game?
You speak the truth.
I mean, look at the changes that occurred to lore from season 1 to season 2.
Yeah.
You
What, the
added
90-something pages
one
of changes?
extra frame, like you added one extra frame of advantage to her overhead, and you added 3 extra frames advantage to her overhead if she's in V trigger.
And one more, and they also added an extra active frame in her fucking light bulb charge, which actually matters a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
1 frame extra active frame. You got one more active, one more advantage frame in her stand medium kick. That sounds so insignificant. It makes all the difference. Those small changes, those very small, seemingly insignificant changes, could not be any more significant to how this character plays now. You know, this is why this information is so important. Why do we got to go on the internet to find this stuff? We need to have this in the actual game. This is ridiculous.
but here's an interesting thing, though, right? But here's the thing, right? Like Zero, you made a mention that okay, Subspace Emissary, look at Smash, right? But the problem with Smash is that Smash isn't the way Smash is marketed, and all the characters that you play, and it's marketed as a party game, right? That's the issue, right? How do you get a fighting game to get Smash numbers, right?
Well, hold up. You're never gonna get a fighting game get Smash numbers. Because Smash has 2 advantages that no other fighting game can get. One, heritage, similar problem with Street Fighter. I guess it wouldn't be a problem for them. Like, you have those people who love the franchise and will just move with the games, and then you have, it's a party game. It's marketed to everyone. It has an advantage that no other fighting game, since I think Smash is a fighting game, can get. It does market itself to people ages 9 to 90. Your family can play. Your grandma can play it. Put it in your living room.
Because there's nothing. you don't have the complexities in Smash as you do in a game like Street Fighter. Like just you don't have all this like special move and then EX versions of those moves. You know, different rules for like command grab versus regular throw. It kind of gets really open for the
Why are you
actors.
laughing maniacally?
But it-
What happened?
I didn't know you could hear me.
There's no
Why are you
maniacal
laughing?
laughter. It was just laughing, nigga.
No, that was maniacal laughing.
No, it wasn't.
It was just the way Zero said, "Put it in your living room." That was really funny to me.
But I think its simplicity is an advantage to the game. I do not think fighting games
that's what
need
I'm
to
saying.
be extremely
No,
complex.
I'm saying, yeah,
Oh, okay.
part of it is because it's simple. But the whole argument is like, oh, don't dumb down a fighting game just to appeal to a more casual audience. It's like, well, it's not the mechanics that determines how complex a match ends up being. It's about the people who are playing.
Yeah, I think anyone who thinks complexity comes from button inputs are stupid. I am one of those people who do agree with the idea of changing the inputs. Let me say it that way.
So basically,
But
what
at
you're
the
saying,
same time, if you want to get rid of like special inputs like quarter circles and half circles and stuff like that, it still would not make the game
It would not
accessible
make the game I disagree with that. It would not make the game overtly easier, but it
Yeah,
would
that's
it
what
would it would
Like, if
be
you-
it would be a step that could allow a lot of people to take it would be a step to allow a lot of casual players to take the plunge into the game, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of people who just kind of say quarter circle forward, fuck this shit.
Yeah, it would be easier for casual to get into the game at the base level, but
I think fighting games should
higher
try
up
that.
into the skill level. You're still going to have a hard time playing against somebody who puts hours into the game and
Oh no, that is
like,
fine.
how about this? What about if they had an option where you can change the button layouts and
It's
button
called
input?
simple mode. No fighting game has done it right yet.
yeah.
Yeah, be right back.
Have you-
Okay, about
Yeah, freaking! I hated EO mode in Capcom vs SNK too.
I don't understand why fighting games think simple mode needs so many features when it's just manipulate the button scheme just a little bit. That's all you need to do.
Well,
you have
the
8
problem-
buttons. You have 8 buttons you have 8 buttons at your command. Half the time you only use 4 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, you have 2 buttons that you could map special to.
I know Ono said he was considering adding a character that is a 4-button character instead of a 6-button character.
In Street Fighter 5? Hello?
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder how that would... I don't know.
I have no
I don't
idea.
play Street
'cause,
Fighter
like,
5,
what are you
so...
gonna the other 2 buttons?
I mean, it could be interesting. I always love to see developers take a set of rules and kind of play around with them.
Yeah, I mean, it can work. It's just I have no idea how you would actually do it. But it would certainly be really good for regular controllers, PS4 controllers.
Yeah.
Because it's just 4 face buttons. That's why I don't like playing with a traditional controller. Playing a game like Street Fighter with a traditional controller, because it's kind of it takes a lot to get used to using your fingers for certain commands or certain strengths of certain commands. Especially when you have to use your left fingers. You gotta use the left triggers because you're like, okay, I gotta do this direction. I gotta do this directional input with left thumb and hit the button with my left finger.
Yeah, and going back to the simple mode thing. I brought up the point of fighting games and their problems with the death spiral. I think simple mode would be a way to alleviate it, but for some reason fighting game developers don't factor in the death spiral, like I said earlier. That's a small change. It is not a huge cataclysmic change to create a single button preset that maps everything to super.
Well,
I'll take another example from Smash. I'm using a lot of examples from Smash. Ryu can be played with both of them. He has the quarter circle forwards, but he also has a simple special button. And yes, they both have two different properties to them. I know that.
so the problem with EO in CVS2 wasn't because, oh, you can just flick the stick and you do all of these special moves. That wasn't the issue. The issue that I had with it was you had to choose either AO, EO, and if you chose EO, you can pretty much only do special moves. You couldn't do normals in order to
Yeah.
do combos and cancel with the special move. It was
That's
basically you were choosing. You can either do normals or you can only do specials.
yeah.
So,
I get what you mean. Because it was the same thing with Marvel 3 with its simple mode. It had, I think it was mash the square button and you get a full basic combo. Your triangle was specials, but you didn't have the free control of all the things that were in the fighting game.
yeah,
And it ends up that simple mode limits you, and that's what a lot of simple modes in video games do.
yeah, I think that's the dumbest thing ever.
It's counterintuitive.
Because like I would be fine if you had an EO, because most likely someone who easy mode is going to be playing on a traditional, DualShock 4 or the Xbox One controller, something that has two sticks. I thought it was actually pretty novel that you do the special move with the right stick. I think that's a good idea, but don't take away normal buttons just for the sake of having specials easily accessible to you. And I think the same thing would happen if you map buttons to be specials. You're essentially talking about taking away normal for the sake of having special moves.
No, I don't agree.
And taking away normal is going to put you at a massive disadvantage, especially if you're playing with someone experienced at the game.
The fuck? Okay, let me take in how many fighting games do you know that use all 8 buttons? All 8.
That I use all 8 buttons.
All 8 buttons for different functions. Not a macro, not a shortcut, but all 8 buttons do different things.
I've been using all 8 buttons in Street Fighter since Street.
I thought it was a 6-button fighter.
It is a 6-button fighter, but 8 buttons. The other 2 buttons, the last 2 buttons, is a combination of
Yeah, they're macros.
that same row.
They're macros. I asked specifically one that uses all 8 buttons for different functions.
Oh,
No macros,
when a
no
fighting game
shortcuts.
has 8 buttons for different. No, there's no fighting games that has 8 buttons in it.
So we clearly have 2 buttons that are on the controller, joystick, fight stick, fight pad, hitbox, whatever. 2 buttons that are either macros or nothing at all.
Yeah.
That's where that is where you map the supers, and you don't simply map super A to one button, super B to another. It could be something as simple as neutral button Hadouken, forward button Tatsu, down button Shoryuken. Button plus any attack is your ultra special or whatever video game you're playing. It is not that hard to get a lot of options into 1 or 2 buttons. It's just that the fighting game developers choose not to do it or don't find it a priority.
I think the idea's never been presented in that fashion.
It's so simple. I don't understand how, because they do want a simple mode. They try it, but they do too much.
Actually, it wouldn't be that bad to have in Street Fighter or something like that. Just have macros, like, because that's something you can add to an existing fighting game.
I know, right? These are the things that frustrate me about the genre and things that people don't bring up that often.
I mean, but let me see. You know, people try to come up with easy operations, simple modes, and it just
And they do
falls
too
flat.
much.
Yeah. And what about Rising Thunder? Didn't that have like an easy execution?
Rising
thing?
Thunder is another case of a game that the community didn't push forward, even though they
I
said
know.
it was a good idea.
No, I know. But didn't it have a good?
Yeah, it totally did.
easy
It had single
execution?
buttons. It was a
But
Street
did it
Fighter
get rid
style
of
game
normals,
with single
though?
button specials and single button supers.
But did it get rid of normals though? Like, were you choosing between specials and norm?
No, you had a full set of normals.
Okay.
It was a pretty cool idea, and then Riot Industries bought it when it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and then
They don't
pulled
exist
the
no
plug
more.
on it.
That annoys me. I'm like, why Riot Industries? Why you just walk up, offer people money for their game, and then just kind of threw it on the shelf? I have suspicions that they might one day try to make a League of Legends fighting game, because it's not a new concept. And at some point, Riot Industries has to figure out having only one game can only get you so far. And it's gotten them very far. It's gotten them very, very far. But it can only get you so far. But yeah, Rising Thunder did do that. And so we've seen the execution of it. But I guess no one else, no other fighting game developer kind of looked at the idea and thought, it's pretty good. Then again, they didn't really have the numbers to show it. Why pay attention to Rising Thunder when it's got maybe 100 people playing it at the moment?
And then
Or
you
at this
also
point in
got,
time, 0 people.
You also got the fact that Japanese companies tend to, like, they want to try to reinvent the wheel all the time.
You right.
Instead of just using what somebody else already did.
They have their pride.
Yeah, because didn't Rising Thunder use GGPO?
Yeah, Rising Thunder totally used GGPO.
Yeah, and wasn't the the lag way better than pretty much any other popular fighting game?
Skullgirls!
Well, Skullgirls use GGPO.
Yep, it did it first.
Yeah. Well, the first one was Fightcade because GGPO was made for Fightcade.
True.
Hell, it was just Fightcade before it became its own drop-in netcode.
That's true. My friend constantly tries to get me to play Fight Game. I'm like, eh. I don't know, man. But yeah, these are things that I would put into, like, going way back to the beginning of our conversation that was like an hour ago. These are the types of things I would talk about in a review for a fighting game. I would put all these things in the factoring. Because it's what I think would make a good video game in the fighting game genre. Not a good fighting game from current standards, but a good video game in that genre. And I don't think reviews that cater straight to hardcore players even think about them. Or how they would benefit the genre as a whole if they were implemented.
Yeah, I don't even think fighting game fans even look at review fighting games anyway. They just try it, see if they like it. Do they want to put it in the time to really learn how to play the game so that they can smash on just about anybody? They don't care about the scores, especially when they know that it's going to be scored low anyway.
50-50 on that. I don't think they look at the final score, but I do think they kind of look around to get a picture of what they're paying for before they get it. Because, you know, ain't no one got no money nowadays.
Yeah.
But so it's not necessarily the final score, but the information presented. And, you know, these are things that aren't presented in the information a lot of the time. Or if they are presented, they're presented from someone who doesn't know how a fighting game works, so the information is wrong. That always annoys me. I'm not the best player, but I understand the mechanics, and especially for this review of nitroplus that I'm working on, I'm getting some help on this. So it's like, no, don't go into a fighting game. Don't review a fighting game if you don't know how a fighting game works. If you don't understand what the hell frame data is, don't even bother. I don't know, but then again, that goes back to a topic that was a thing like a year ago, whether or not game reviewers had to be good at the game to review it. And that opens up a whole other can of worms.
They have to have some competency. Sure. But I'm just saying that just in general, people suck at fighting games, and they get frustrated because they think they're good at games.
You right? I know plenty of people like that. I don't know. I just feel like fighting games just kind of do what they've always done and don't try to innovate that often until someone else innovates and it's massively successful. Not innovate and it's a good idea, but they innovated and got millions off of that idea. Then they start doing cinematics, cinematic story modes.
The funny thing is, Capcom was starting to do cinematic story mode already in Street Fighter 4. It was just in arcade mode, and it was mainly for that character's life.
Yeah, I actually kind of liked it that way.
Yeah.
Like there are some points to be made where logic was like a fighting game just can't do a story mode right, because then you get into scenarios where the fights had to be forced outside of the story and they make no sense. You end up in those situations in a traditional story mode, whereas in arcade mode with the cinematic beginning, maybe a cinematic middle and a cinematic end, they can get away with it.
Honestly, I think Street Fighter 5 did a better job at that than Mortal Kombat X.
How so?
The fights being part of the story.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, because Mortal Kombat just kind of... It would have been a good... You could take out the fighting, and it probably would have been a good movie. But you add in the fighting, and it doesn't...
Like, people have done that. People have uploaded just the cinematics strung together with taken out.
Oh yeah, that's how I watched Mortal Kombat X story mode, because I was not gonna buy it. There was something that... Oh yeah, the microtransactions. The microtransaction DLC. I refuse to support that.
I got it. I got MK PC finally.
Oh, I was livid when they initially said that. What was it? What update wasn't coming to PC at all? I know they went back on it.
It was KP2 and MKXL. What happened was, you had MKX on PC and PS and Xbox.
I know the port was shit and it was really hard to deal with.
Yeah, but they fixed that. But what happened was when they announced KP2 and XL, they never said that they were not going to support PC. They just thought that they were just going to stop supporting PC and no one would notice. That was the slap in the face. That was what people were so upset about. Was that you just dropped support quietly and didn't even say anything. So you expect people to keep buying the game even though they're not going to be supported.
Yeah, that was NetherRealm's fuck up. But like I said, I was basically kind of turning my head to them from the initial microtransactions, even though they've just become a staple now, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, that was an issue even in Deus Ex.
Man, that was an issue before. That was an issue back in 2005, 6.
Oh, what I mean is that the issue was between the developer and publisher.
Oh, yeah.
Square Enix insisted that they put microtransactions in. So
Oh,
they just
yeah.
kind of like they literally just stapled microtransactions at the tail end of the game. Like not the ending of the game, but like they just stuck it, you know, onto the game. Luckily, because of that, microtransactions are pretty much invisible on Deus Ex. Like there's never any real reason for you to see microtransactions unless you're specifically exploring main menu.
Well, to me, first of all, I like to have some faith in the industry and think that it's almost always the publishers telling them to do it at the last second, and that the actual developers never intended for it. That is my dream scenario. That is what I hope for. That is my belief in humanity.
Hey, you
Yeah,
heard
that
though the whole thing with Deus Ex. The developers really were trying to fight against microtransactions.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, they were. They didn't want
the multiplayer, they didn't want any of that crap in there.
they
What the hell are you gonna
made
do? Your
them put it
publisher said
in
do
there
this.
after the game was done already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing stories about the horrors of the Deus Ex development just as a whole. But what was it? One of the other problems with microtransactions that isn't instantly transparent isn't necessarily whether or not the microtransactions are like visible and constantly plaguing you to go buy them, like a lot of games where you'll pause the menu and say go buy this DLC. It's not always that, but it's the idea that sometimes that they'll actually twist the economy of the game in order to try to incentivize you to, buy microtransactions. Like
Yeah,
this
no,
gun
that's
used
what
to
I'm talking.
cost 1,000 crystals, but you could buy 500 crystals for $2.99, and that gun just went up to 2,000 crystals.
Yeah, that's what people hate about Rise Son of Rome. It's
It,
actually a legit good game, but yeah, it's one of those premium games that's plagued with microtransactions.
games as a service.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, Zero, but did you play the Overwatch beta?
Yeah. No, no, no. I watched the Overwatch beta. I didn't get to play it. Actually, I think I got into the last beta.
Okay, yeah, I was in the last beta too. And I don't know if it's just my perception, but I got a hell of a lot more coins. Like they seem to drop a lot faster during the beta than when the actual game came out and they had all the microtransactions to buy the crates. I almost get no coins now to actually buy shit.
I personally didn't feel that, and I don't have any like actual other sources that collaborate that, but I could see that happening. What I
Yeah.
do know is they totally decreased the drop rate after the Summer Games event. The Summer Games event had a ton of stuff just dropping from every single box, and then people complained that you couldn't buy the boxes with money. And so I'm pretty sure, I again have no sources, no citations on this, but I'm like 90% sure they slashed the drop rate and then said, here, you can buy them at double the price. And I'm talking about in-game currency on that. Granted, I do sort of agree with it. At least from the double price thing. Because like a gold skin costs like 1,000 gold. A yellow skin. Make it simpler. A yellow skin costs like 1,000 gold, but an event yellow skin costs 2,000. And I understand it's the premium of the event skin, and the fact that most players have like 1 billion gold at this point already. Ugh, those people who just play those games continuously, they ruin the economy of video games. But that's what the developers have to gauge their stuff by. Not the casual players, not the okay players, but the people who literally leave their Overwatch on 24/7. But going off topic, what was I talking about when it comes to fighting games?
It ruins the economy.
Microtransactions? I don't know. I probably ran the topic into the dust at this point. Reviews,
Talking
review
about
fighting
the,
games better. Community, handle fighting games better. Everyone, fighting game better.
Fuck. God damn it.
That's a
hate
summary of
tags.
how I feel about the fighting game community. Video game better. There you go.